The AI revolution isn't coming. We're already living inside it, and it's moving forward at unprecedented speed. Our phones already anticipate our desires, our feeds know our fears, and algorithms sketch our future before we've even imagined it. Every day we hand more of our thinking to machines because it's easy, efficient, sometimes delightful. But philosophers have been warning for centuries about ease, abstraction, and the dangers of letting tools take over our lives. In this video, we're going to explore 5 thinkers whose ideas not only predicted what AI could do to us, but show us how to reclaim our humanity. Each chapter is a descent into one philosopher's mind and a confrontation with our present. At the end, you'll see why these old ideas might be the most important guide to navigating a world where code seems to know us better than we know ourselves. Let's begin strong. 1. Plato and the Shadow World. Over 2 millennia before anybody dreamt of deep learning, Plato wrote an eerie tale, a tale with timeless wisdom. Picture a dark cavern, deep underground. A line of prisoners sit chained from birth, their heads fixed toward a stone wall. Behind them burns a fire. Between the fire and their backs, unseen figures carry objects. Shadows leap and flicker on the wall, the only world these prisoners have ever known. They name the shapes, argue over their meaning, and believe the shadows are reality itself. One day, a prisoner is freed and dragged toward the cave's mouth. The light sears his eyes. Socrates says he is dazzled by excessive light. At first, he sees nothing but pain. Then, slowly, shapes emerge. The cave walls, the sun, the living world beyond. When he returns to tell the others, they laugh, call him mad, and cling to their shadows, the only truth they're willing to see. The allegory isn't about caves. Plato is asking what happens when our perception is controlled. In a world of deepfakes, algorithmic feeds, and generative text, we risk living in a cave built by code. AI curates what we see, predicts what we want, and even produces plausible truths with the same confidence as real facts. That's precisely the danger Socrates hints at. The prisoners mistake the shadows for realities and will even be sure to fancy the voice which they heard came from the passing shadow. Today, a synthetic voice can call you, a deepfake can sway an election, and an AI's recommendation can feel like your own intuition. When machines simulate experience so convincingly, the line between appearance and reality blurs. Plato offers a remedy: turn around. The journey out of the cave is painful, but it's the only way to see what casts the shadows. In our age, that might mean questioning the narratives our feeds provide, learning how AI works, and reclaiming our agency in choosing what we see. Once outside, the freed prisoner pities those who still compete for honor by predicting shadow patterns. Likewise, you might look back at clickbait battles, comment wars, or the dopamine rush of endless scrolling and see them for what they are: games in a shadow world. The point isn't to abandon technology, it's to use AI as a lantern, not a projector. Only then do we avoid becoming spectators of our own lives, mistaking curated shadows for the rich, messy reality of being human. Two, Martin Heidegger, Enframing and the Forgotten Self. Jump forward to the 20th century and you find Martin Heidegger, a philosopher who saw technology not just as tools, but as a way of thinking. In his later work, he coined the term Gestalt, usually translated as enframing. Enframing is the pervasive mindset that challenges forth nature and reality to reveal themselves solely as resources to be ordered, optimized, and controlled. Under enframing, the world becomes a giant stockpile. Rivers are no longer rivers, but potential energy reserves. Forests become timber quotas. and people become human resources, valued for their data or productivity. Sound familiar? AI is the ultimate in framing technology. Machine learning systems reduce language to tokens, creativity to patterns, emotions to sentiment scores. Our online behavior is sliced, tracked, and optimized for engagement. In Heidegger's terms, everything becomes standing reserve, always on call, ready to be consumed. The danger is not killer robots, but a world in which enframing conceals all other modes of revealing. It threatens to make us forget being itself. When all that matters is efficiency and prediction, there is no space left for wonder, slowness, or the simple act of letting things be. Heidegger isn't a Luddite. He doesn't say, throw away your computer. He urges releasement, a conscious stance in which we use technology without letting it dictate how we see everything. You might use AI to draft an email, but then go outside and feel the wind without measuring it. You might let an algorithm sort your playlists, but still learn an instrument for the joy of struggle. Heidegger's warning is that if we don't cultivate this releasement, AI won't need to enslave us, we'll have done it ourselves. As he puts it, the essence of technology is by no means anything technological. The true threat is a mindset that sees nothing but systems and fails to ask the oldest question: what does it mean to be? 3. Alienation in the age of automation. Who do you think brings up the alienation of labor? Karl Marx. Marx never saw a microchip, but he understood how machines could change what it means to work. In the manifesto of the Communist Party, he noted that with machinery and the division of labor, the work of the proletarians has lost all individual character. He becomes an appendage of the machine. He went further. The worker's activity is determined and regulated on all sides by the movement of the machinery, and not the opposite. In other words, the machine dictates the tempo of human life. AI extends this logic. Instead of physical machines speeding up our hands, we have algorithms guiding our minds. Call centers are replaced by bots, designed by generative models, logistics by predictive analytics. Marx warned that when work becomes repetitive, and when workers lose control over their labor, they also lose meaning, ownership, and connection, what he called pure alienation. Today, automation strips away not only muscle, but creativity itself. We become supervisors of systems rather than agents of change. Marx saw that labor produces more than commodities. It produces the worker as the commodity. In the gig economy, a labor market characterized by short-term and flexible work. Your time, your location, even your data are bought and sold by platforms. When recommendation engines predict your choices better than you can, your preferences become just another raw material for someone else's profit. The danger is clear. If machines do everything, what's left to define us except consumption? But Marx didn't think alienation was inevitable. Awareness, he believed, could lead to collective action. In the age of AI, that might mean building systems that amplify rather than replace human skill, valuing craftsmanship and care over raw output, and demanding policies that protect the dignity of meaningful work. The question is not simply, what will AI do to jobs? It is, what will AI do to us if we let work define who we are? 4. Hannah Arendt, Action, Freedom, and the Risk of a Predictive World. Arendt, once a student of Heidegger, spent her life asking how freedom is lost. In The Human Condition, she drew a sharp line between three kinds of human activity: labor, the endless cycle that sustains the body; work, the making of things that outlast us; and action, the rare, unpredictable exchange between people that reveals who we are. Action is where politics lives, where relationships take root, where individuality is shown. Arendt feared we had become a laboring society, obsessed with productivity and consumption. Automation, she wrote, might free us from the grind. But if we lose the higher, more meaningful activities, nothing could be worse. In an AI-driven world, the threat isn't only job loss, it's the erosion of action. Algorithms anticipate our desires, the next song, the next message, the next thought. The real danger is not mechanization itself, but that all human productivity could be absorbed into a perfectly smooth, ever-repeating cycle. When everything runs without friction, there's no space for the unexpected. And without unpredictability, there is no freedom. Labor, Arendt reminded us, can be done in solitude, but a life of complete solitude is not a human life. Today, remote work and platform economies can isolate us even as they connect us. AI mediates our relationships, turns conversations into data points. To preserve action, we must reclaim the public space. Not the algorithm's feed, but the messy, human space of dialogue. It means resisting the urge to outsource every decision, engaging in civic life instead of doom-scrolling, and valuing discourse that isn't optimized for clicks. The future will not be ruled by machines. It will be ruled by people who have stopped acting and only react. Arendt's challenge is clear. Become agents again. Act unpredictably in a world built to predict you. 5. Søren Kierkegaard. Despair and the disappearance of the self. The 19th century Dane who stared into the depths of despair. For him, despair wasn't simply sadness. It was the condition of failing to become the self you were meant to be. In The Sickness Unto Death, he warns of a quiet, almost invisible danger. The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all. No other loss can occur so quietly. The self, he says, is the last thing the world cares about. Society rewards those who blend in, who fit the mold, and in the age of algorithms, this warning feels sharper than ever. We scroll, click, and swipe, being busied with all sorts of worldly affairs, until it feels easier, safer, to become like the others. A copy, a number, a mass man. This form of despair is comfortable. It's convenient, which is exactly why it's so dangerous. AI promises endless convenience. It can draft your emails, choose your route, even suggest who you should date. But convenience can smooth away the very frictions that shape identity. If we never wrestle with choices, never endure boredom, never sit with anxiety, we may never discover who we are. Kierkegaard urges us to find a truth which is true for me, something worth living and dying for. Without it, we drift, pulled by the currents of mindless conformity. He doesn't offer a technological fix. Instead, he calls for inwardness, the courage to face despair rather than escape it, and the will to make choices that reflect our deepest values. In a world where AI curates our options, the simple act of choosing becomes a form of rebellion. So next time an algorithm serves you a movie, a headline, or a path in life, pause. Ask if it brings you closer to the self you're trying to become, or if it's just another shadow on the wall. Kierkegaard's quiet punchline: artificial intelligence won't steal your soul. It will just make sure you never notice you lost it. Together, these philosophers form a map through the artificial intelligence labyrinth. They don't tell us to fear machines. They tell us to fear the ways we might surrender our agency, our attention, and our humanity. It feels as though each day we are being given more powerful tools that can heal, create, and connect. But they can also distract, predict, and define. Our task is to decide which world we want to live in, a cave of shadows or a landscape lit by our own curiosity. If this journey has resonated with you, share a moment when you felt yourself slipping into the shadows and how you found your way back. Join the conversation below, and if you'd like to explore more intersections between classic philosophy and the present, consider subscribing. New episodes drop every week, each one an invitation to think deeply and live deliberately. See you in the next one.